All right, so we're back in the shop. Got this 2013 Ford Expedition. It's got the 5.4 liter 3-valve engine in it. And if you didn't watch that last video, go back and watch it and kind of catch up where we're at and what's going on with this thing. But did a test drive on it and it lost oil pressure, and think that it just picked some gunk up in the strainer on the oil pump. So we flat towed it back here at the shop, pushed it back in here with a tractor, drained the oil out of it, took the oil filter off, kind of blew back through the oil filter housing there where you attach the oil filter, and tried to blow some of that junk out of the strainer, or at least attempted to. And so put another oil filter on it, filled it back up with oil, and so we'll go over here and see if we can get it to build oil pressure, see if it'll start, and we'll go from there. So all right, get you set up here, watch this oil pressure. Let's see if this thing will fire off or see what it'll do. Alright, we didn't get no oil pressure that time. Alright, so it is trying to start to build oil pressure. Let me flip you around here. Alright, so the deal with the oil pressure gauges on these is it's really not anything different than an idiot light. It's got a oil pressure sensor down there by the oil filter, and it's just sending an electronic signal up here that's got some kind of resistor in the gauge, and it just builds up slowly, but it's not reading actual pounds, like 10 pound, 20 pound, 30 pound, whatever. It's basically an on or off. So when it starts to build oil pressure and it sends a signal, even though it starts to build, like it's faking you out, it's just a resistive thing on the electronics in the dash there. So it is starting to build some more pressure, but it ain't got enough to start. And so don't know what's going on with the cam phasers and how it's reading with the low oil pressure. May not have enough oil pressure up there to activate those. So anyway, long story short, since we lost oil pressure and we've already had the valve covers off and cleaned that stuff out, we'll go ahead and drop the oil pan, see what it looks like, and we'll just go from there. And we may end up with the valve covers back off of it, check that top end. When we drain this oil out of it, we'll look at it. That oil I drained out of it when we come back after it lost oil pressure had some more metal flakes in it. Had metal flakes in it originally, if you go back and watch that first video when we drained it out. So engine's not healthy, so we're going to see if we can save it at all, or whether it's just a lost cause. But let's get into it and see what we can find out. All right, so we're back. Drained that oil out, poured it back in the containers there. And I just want to show you the bottom of the pan here. You can see those little metal flakes. So there's quite a bit of metal flakes in there, and these chunks of garbage here. So we'll have to go ahead and pull that oil pump or oil pan off and just see what's in there. So I'll get back with you here in a minute. All right, so we pulled that cross member off there. That was underneath that oil pan there. You saw that on the time lapse, and I cleaned up a little bit of that stuff under there. But I went ahead and jacked that truck on up and set it on these stands and moved them jack stands out from under there, and that may give us a little bit more room. I'll take you in there and give you a close-up look. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to drop that oil pan down with everything just like it is. We may end up lifting the engine up just a little bit to be able to get the oil pan off of it. I'll give you a quick look at it here and then set you back up on time lapse. We'll see if we can get that thing off. All right, so we're down here under the hood, underneath the front of the engine. Probably gonna have to take this bolt out right here where them lines can slide over a little bit here. and we'll get these oil pan bolts out. I want to kind of show you what our issue is going to be. This axle housing right back here is just right up against that oil pan. It's hard to see there. Right there it is. So anyway, that axle housing for the front wheel drive, you don't have a lot of clearance underneath that oil pan. So we may end up having to pick the engine up just a little bit to be able to get the oil pan off of it. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. Get you down here a little closer to get them. So anyway, all the bolts back through here. I pulled one of them out there a minute ago just to see what size bolt that was. So anyway, I'll get you set up on time lapse, and we'll see if we can get this thing dropped down out of here. All right, let's see if I can bring you back up to speed here. There was a plastic piece right here that ran down under the oil filter that drained the oil off when you took the oil filter off. So we took the oil filter off, moved this out of the way, and trying to lower that differential down enough to get that oil pump or oil pan off. And so there's a bolt. See if I can get this thing to get this over out of the way where you can see. There's a bolt right back there that needed to come out. So this steering shaft coming off the steering wheel was in the way. So we took that bolt out and just popped that up and set it out of the way, pull that bolt out right there. And that only dropped about, I don't know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches at the most. See if I can get you a better shot of this stuff here without my hand in the way. So if I can get this pointer over here. Right there's that steering column shaft took loose, and there's the bolt that came out of that housing. The housing's right down there below it. So that's kind of what we're dealing with back here. So now the differential's sitting on a mount down there. I'll show you that in a minute. And over here on the other side, there's a bolt right down in there that we took out and lowered the differential down on that side. And so we got the oil pan down a little farther than what it was. Bring him down here and started to slide it out, and then it hit the sway bar. So took bolts out of the sway bar and swung it down out of the way. It's back here. So we've got the oil pan down a pretty good bit right here, and that pipe coming down to the screen for the oil sump is right there. So it's basically catching in the baffle inside the oil pan right here. So it still ain't coming off, so we ain't got enough clearance there just yet. But during all that, we got some antifreeze right here that has dripped down. It's on these transmission lines right here. So I come over here and got looking at it. See if I can get you up in there where I ain't tracked it down yet to see where it's coming from, but all the way up on the back of that head, there's a little drip. It looked like a little drip off of this back, get you to focus in there, manifold bolt right there. So I ain't sure where that's coming from yet. So one more thing to look at. So we'll, probably turn you around here and turn you off for a second. Let me go a little bit further and I'll get back with you and give you an update. So right here's a shot of that differential from the bottom down here. And you see that mount right there, it's sitting on it right there. So that side can't go any lower than what it is. So that's about all we can get out of that on that side. And right here's the other side of that differential. Got that bolt dropped out of it right there. So it's basically sitting on this little rod right here on the A-frame. So I can jack the truck up just a little bit where that A-frame will sway down a little bit and get just a little bit more out of this side. But so that's what we're dealing with. All right, I was going to try to walk you through a couple of things right here. We're looking at the front of the engine down here under the truck, and I've got that oil pan off. We'll look at it there in a minute. What I had to do is take 2 bolts out right here where it was bolted up into the oil pump, and then one off right back there toward the back. There's, you see that little rod thing sticking down right there. There was a little bolt in the bottom of that that held that sump on down there. So we had to take that off because it was hanging up in the baffle in the oil pan, and we just slid it right out. So it'll be a pain to get that back in there. So right behind this right here, behind this cover that covers the timing chain, there's like a little, I think they call it a reluctor wheel there, and this crank positioning sensor, my light falling out, this crank positioning sensor right here reads off of it. And so then you got the 2 timing chain gears there and the 2 timing chains going up in both directions, and behind that is the oil pump right on the front of the crank. And so the oil pump is pulling oil up through that sump down there through this tube right here, and it's pumping it back through this little oblong hole right here and into your filter, and then it goes through the filter media and then goes back in here, which is going out to your rod bearings, main bearings, and then up to the upper part of your engine. So what I did is I tried to come over here before I got the oil pan off and blow back through the oil pump here and blow some of that junk out in the oil pan and blow that sump out a little bit. And then I actually took my little old Craftsman thing here that I've got diesel fuel and stuffed me a rag in there and put a little pressure on it there, and then tried to take my air hose and blow back through there too, which that thing's oblong, so you can imagine what kind of mess I was making. And so I think I got a little bit of that blew back through there. And then I did the same thing here. Actually pressurized this with some diesel fuel to blow back up through the top of the engine. And so the oil pan was still hanging down here loose. And you can see the diesel and stuff running down into the oil pan and blew a bunch of junk back out there. And then I took the air line and blew that back out. And then I actually brought my big vacuum hose over here and just stuck right in there. And that covers that whole thing. So it pulled a pretty good vacuum on both the oil pump and this. So it's not primed at all right now. We've sucked everything back out of it. And so I really don't have any clue, how clean this is in there to the oil pump, or how clean the oil pump is. Where this is going through the mains and stuff, I think's good. We blew a bunch of junk out of it. But as far as the oil journal going up to the head, I ain't got a clue. So we'll go over here and take a look at this oil pan and the oil sump, and we'll go from there. Let me get you in here and see if you can see the metal flake in that is amazing. I mean, it's everywhere. And there's a piece of something right there, probably a tensioner off the timing chain. Got more metal flake up here and right in there, so it ain't looking good at all. Let me see if I can flip this. I ain't even looked at the bottom of that sump yet. We'll look at it together. So yeah, it's full of trash. So I'm thinking that's what got our oil pressure to start with, is the gunk in that. All right, Let's see if I can get you set up here and see if I can clean that up a little bit. All right, I'll try to get you a shot of this stuff here. Went ahead and picked up, there's two pieces of that. That is a timing chain tensioner right there. So two pieces it broke off. I don't know if you can see that metal flake that's on that as well. So that running a little low of oil and then losing oil pressure has really ate that thing up. I don't know if I can spray a little diesel in that and thin that out a little. You see the metal flake that's in it. Don't know if the camera's going to do that justice or not, but there you have it. You can see down in that pan right there. Looks like a glitter bomb has gone off in there. And then I think before we blew back through that sump and stuff, these chunks like this right here is probably what was stopping that up. And then you can see the glitter in there. I mean, it's everywhere. And so we've done washed some of that out. So what's the hope of saving this engine? Probably slim to none. All right, so I really got you in here now. This is looking up at the front of the engine. Right here's the inlet for the oil pump, and right there's the two timing chains. And right here's that, what I thought they call a reluctor wheel. I'll look it up and find out what it's really called. And you can see where the teeth have been scuffed around through there. And I'm thinking that's where that timing chain guide has probably hit it. And I'm going to turn that engine over there in a second and let you watch that. But it looks like there may be something else. Yeah, right here is another piece of timing chain guide. And that's what's been clunking around on that. There she went. So I'll show you that in a minute. That's what's eating them teeth up on that right there. And I don't know if that happened when we lost oil pressure and shut it off and towed it back over here, because it never did start after that. So it might not have started because of no oil pressure, and it might not have started because that crank positioning sensor ain't reading right. So we roll that around there and you watch them teeth. Let's see if there's any of them. I mean, there's a void right. Get my pointer up here. There's a void right there where there's not a tooth, but it don't look like one's broke. It looked like there never was one there. So I'm learning right alongside you guys, right? So I've been inside a bunch of internal combustion engines, but this is the first time I've been in one of these 543 valves. So my battery going dead on my light back there. Yeah, let me turn it down on low and maybe it'll last long enough. We can spin that motor around. All right, so let me bring you in here. We got this oil pan all cleaned up, and it ain't immaculate, but it's way better than what it was. Also, this tube that bolts on the oil pump there, that it's got the sump and the screen and everything on it. We got it really cleaned up. There was a lot of carbon on that and in that, and metal flakes around the edge there. Took the air hose and blew that out and washed it several times. So anyway, cleaned up there. Let me turn you around there and kind of tell you what I'm thinking now. All right, a little update and kind of where do we go from here. So from the beginning on this, we have tried to fix this on a budget. Like, can we get it going on the least amount of money? And so my neighbor walked over here and we looked at where we was at. The metal shavings that we'd found in the oil pan, the timing chain tensioner that was, the bottom of it's broke off and it was in the oil pan there. And when we test drove it there last time, it lost oil pressure, and it hadn't started since when we brought it back in here, and was having issues with it building oil pressure, period. So having this stuff cleaned up, and I got one more idea that I'm going to show you here in a minute. It's like, what do we do from here? So I had brought my old cherry picker down here out of the barn, went ahead and pulled the bumper and grill and headlights and everything out of it, and was kind of prepping for if we needed to pull the engine on out. And so kind of the decision at this point is we're just going to put it back together. If it starts and runs, drive it back over to his house and he's going to put it up for sale as is. If it don't crank, we're going to put it back together and pull it out and pull it over to his house, and he's going to try to sell it as is. So a little bit too much money to rebuild an engine or buy a new engine to put in it. More money than he wants to put in it. And, he didn't buy the vehicle new, and it's got 220-something thousand miles on it. Now, these are high-dollar vehicles, and it's still a good vehicle, and would be good if he could maybe wait it out, find a wrecked vehicle with a good engine that he could swap into it, or somebody that's got a wrecked vehicle and a good drivetrain that they want to maybe purchase this and drop into it. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but for us, we're just going to put it back together and see what we can do from there. So the reason we didn't want to go any further, basically at this point, I could jack it up right here, move these wheel stands, get it back down on the ground, get up there and tear everything back off the top that we already had off, pull the valve covers back off, turn the engine over and see if we're in as good a shape on the top end of the engine as we were before we did the test drive. I don't know at this point. When it lost oil pressure, did the cam seize up? Do we have a broke cam? I don't know what's going on up there. And even with as clean as we've got the oil sump and the oil pan and the valve covers, you still got the timing chain area there that we ain't touched as far as cleanup. The oil passages are really small going into the VVTs up there. If they're stopped up, it's just, we tear it down, we do more work and spend more money, and you've got an engine that's got 226,000 or 227,000 miles on it and a lot of wear. All that bearing material that's come out of the cam bearings and the rods and main bearings and all that. So it's probably going to be done, but we're going to give it our best shot. So here's my next idea. So I took an oil filter, and I don't know if you'll be able to see into this oil filter or not, but usually in the oil filter, straight in there, right there, there is a spring. And it's about yay long, and that spring sets on a little old valve in there. And so when your oil pump is pumping oil through there, if the filter media gets stopped up, it will open that bypass. So dirty oil is better than no oil, right? So it will bypass the filter media and still let it go through there. So I broke that spring out, popped that little old bypass valve out, and drilled me a hole through there and put me actually a tire plug in it, and have rigged me up a hose on the bottom of this thing. So here's my idea, and I don't know if it'll work. We'll find out. These engines are not like the old engines where you can just pull the distributor out of it, and it doesn't matter if it's Dodge, Chevrolet, any of them old pushrod engines were the same. Ford, I mean, they're all the same. And you pull the distributor out, and you'd either buy a rod or you can make one out of an old distributor or something. I had some homemade ones around here that you put a drill down in there to the oil pump and run your drill and run your oil pump and pump pressure up on the engine and get everything pre-lubed before you ever tried to start it or anything. So with these engines, with that oil pump up there on front, there ain't really no way to do that. And I don't know if they make something aftermarket. I've not been working on these new engines. I'm an old guy, I like the old stuff. But anyway, I think that I can put this on here, and I'll show you later. I've got one of them little yard sprayer jugs over there that you can build pressure up. And I'm going to tie this to it, put oil in that thing, and pressurize this oil system. And since we've got that spring broke out and stuff there, it should pressurize both sides. It should blow back through the oil pump into the oil pan, as well as blow up into the engine and through the rod bearings and main bearings and all that. So we probably pump, I don't know, a gallon of oil back through it if this works, and get everything pressurized. Then we'll take this off and put the good filter on there, put some good oil in it, and we'll see if she'll crank and run. If it does, fine. If it don't, fine. Either way, we're putting it back together from here. So come along for the journey. Let's see what we can figure out on this thing. Alright, so I'm back, got the oil pan reinstalled, got the differential jacked up, rebolted back into its place, the steering rod back here behind the oil filter and water pipe there, we got it reattached, and so got my little oil filter pressurizer deal hooked up, and put 3 quarts of oil in this garden sprayer and filled it up to this line right here and pumped it up and pressurized it. And so I've put that much in it already. So I'm gonna set you up over here, probably on a time lapse, because it takes a little bit to pump that and get it in there. And we'll see if we can get all 3 of those quarts in there, and we may add some more. And right here's what we're running. It's a brand new 5-quart jug, and I got another one over there, 5W30 high mileage. So all right, we'll go further. All right, so there you have it. I got it took loose and just screwed that end off initially and put it into this rubber piece right here. So right at the end there, I had a little drip come down. I think 1 drop dripped off of it right at the very end. That was 5 quarts we pumped through it. And so I spilled some here, but what I spilled was when I took this line loose and hooked it to get it ready to take off there. So I'm gonna set you up here and screw this oil filter off, and we'll take the good filter and put it on there. Oh man, that thing's on there tighter than what I thought. Well, I'll grab me a rag or something while I can grip it. I just screwed that on there by hand. It ain't coming off by hand. I'm gonna get that other filter ready, and I'll swap this off, put the other one on there. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Went over there and got that other filter and filled it up with oil and let it kind of soak down into the filter media. I'm gonna lose a little right here. Oh, geez, more than I thought. Good thing we had this one ready, huh? All right, I believe that'll do that. All right, we got her all put back together there, so we'll go around here and see if we can climb in it and turn it over a little bit and see if it'll build oil pressure, see if it'll start. I'll set you up over here and you can watch the engine compartment there and tell me what it does there, all right? All right, one last effort before we just hook to this thing and pull it out and pull it down there to the neighbors. Got in the owner's manual there and looked up the fuses for the PCM, the powertrain control module. Pull the relay, pull the main fuse. Also went ahead and disconnected the battery and took the positive and negative off, stuck a piece of cardboard under it there, and tied the positive and negative together with a pair of jumper cables to bleed off any stored voltage in the PCM. And so I'm gonna hop in here and turn it over a time or two, and you just watch it there for me. I'll be right back. All right, so it's not even attempting to fire there, and I'm wondering, since we took that oil pan off and saw that timing chain tensioner that was broke down in there, that I'm wondering that when we lost oil pressure, if it didn't do something to this cam on this side. I'm almost positive this is the side that had the tensioner broke off on the bottom down there. So it may have seized this cam up here and broke something on the top of it. The compression feels funny when you just turn the engine around with a wrench, and it sounds a little crazy there when it's turning too. So anyway, with after consulting the neighbor on what we're gonna do with whatever, so we'll pull it back down there, and he can list it wherever he, Facebook Marketplace or whatever he wants to do with it, and either sell it as it is or look around, maybe find another engine. So believe this one's done. Appreciate you guys watching, hanging out with me. Wish we had a better report, but can't win them all, right? Like, subscribe, share. We'll catch you on the next one.